Hello, Coffee and Convo listeners. It's your host, Liz Bullard. I hope you're doing well out there and staying safe. For those of you who are new to listening to Coffee and Convos, welcome to the Convo. Coffee and Convos is about just me having conversations about local and global issues with friends, leaders in the community, and just those who are great at having interesting conversation. And so this episode, I am joined by Zaida and Keisha. Both are community influencers here in town, and we are discussing the Columbus statue. In many states and places, Columbus has been coming down, but here in Waterbury, there has been a divide between the Italian American community and those who are in support of the Black Lives Matter movement, and those who see Columbus as a symbol of hate and racism. And what has happened here in town is that someone took matters into their own hands and decided to chop off his head or hammer his head. And so we now have a headless statue. And so I'm joined by Keisha and Zaida as we discuss this and discuss the divide and what that means. And through the episode, it really appears as if the Columbus statue doesn't just symbol Columbus, but it really ties into a lot of other issues as you listen in. You'll find that we talk about so many other issues, not just the statue. And I think it just means that while the statue is important and the two sides are important, I think there's other underlying issues, and this is just kind of the catalyst for those conversations. Again, thank you for tuning in to Coffee and Convos. I hope you enjoy this episode. As always, find Coffee and Convos on Facebook and Instagram, and please share and post if you enjoyed this episode and if you find it interesting. Thank you and be well. Hi, Coffee and Convo listeners. Here's just a quick ad before we get started. So go and check out and download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm if you've ever thought about starting your own podcast. With Anchor, it's completely free to use all the tools. There is no subscription required. So you can create your own podcast from start to finish using the app or website. You also get access to different tools like adding background music when you create your podcast with Anchor. Anchor distributes your podcast with just one click of a button. Your podcast will be available on Spotify, Apple, and many more sites. The bonus with Anchor compared to other podcasting sites is you can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. So if you're interested in podcasting or you have an existing podcast, download the Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to start using the app and creating your ads and creating your podcast. So as always, thanks for listening, and please like, share, and find Coffee and Convos on Instagram and Facebook. Welcome, Zaida and Keisha, to Coffee and Convos. So Keisha, this is not your first time. This is like your third time.
Yes.
Well, thank you so much for giving me your time and space. I appreciate it. And Zaida, you are new to Coffee and Convos, so welcome. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Liz.
So I'll give some background before we do our Coffee and Convo question. So I did not know Columbus and the Columbus statue was such a big thing. So honestly, I'm very ignorant in terms of Columbus. So for those of you who are listening, please forgive me and maybe some of my sarcasm during this convo. But so the backstory is there was the statue. And as you see all around the world, there's been taking down of racially triggering statues and signs. So here in Waterbury, there was this contention of take it down or leave it up. And long story short, the statue loses its head. Christopher Columbus loses his head on Independence Day, right, ladies?
Yes. Yeah.
So he loses his head literally on Independence Day. There was this big manhunt, and there is a name that came out today of who it was. And now they're searching for this individual.
Yes.
But my hope behind this conversation originally was I wanted to find out if we're canceling Columbus, do we still get to celebrate Thanksgiving? Because I just want my turkey and I want to eat and I want family and I just want to be thankful. So, ladies, I hope by the end of this you can help me process if we're boycotting Thanksgiving.
Absolutely. I understand. I understand you clearly.
But before we get into that kind of lighthearted conversation, let's start with our coffee and combo question, which is, and we'll start with you, Zaida. Um, do you prefer coffee or tea?
I prefer tea.
Really?
Yeah. I've never been a coffee drinker.
Really? What kind of tea,
Yeah.
like, do you like green tea, black tea? Do you like it all?
I don't like it all. I do like green tea. It has a lot of good health
Mm-hmm.
benefits, but I actually make my own.
Really?
Yeah.
Tell us, give us a little breakdown of how you make your tea.
Okay, well, I take all the citrus peels, so that'll be grapefruit, some lime, some lemon, some oranges, and I take those peels and I cut them up really thin. I mix that with some local honey. In addition to that, I'll on the side I'll boil some cinnamon, some anise
Mm-hmm.
star, and some cloves, and I let that boil up really good. And when I see it start thickening up, then I mix that with the honey and the peels, and I let that just sit for a few days. So then, when you want some tea, all you have to do is boil some water, take a scoop of that or a spoonful, and put it in your water, and you have tea,
Tea, that's good.
and it's really good and yummy.
What about you? I know you said you are not a coffee drinker, correct?
Right. I'm not a coffee drinker. I'm not a tea drinker. I will drink tea though when I'm sick.
Mm.
Yeah, only when I'm sick I want tea for some reason. I crave it. But I'm more of a now I drink at Dunkin' Donuts. I drink a vanilla chai with extra powder and whipped cream. I order the same thing. Vanilla chai, extra powder. I have to have extra powder and whipped cream.
So listen to all those listening. If you see Keisha, you get her a vanilla
Vanilla
chai,
chai,
extra
extra
powder.
powder. I'm always extra no matter what I do. Can I have extra?
You know, you know what that is. You know what? I didn't think about it like that, but yeah, like you don't just kind of like settle. Like you go, like you're like if you're gonna go for it, you go for it.
Yes, that's right.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
So, ladies, where do we start with this Columbus statue? For me, I am very taken back because, again, I did not know it was going to be such a big issue here in Waterbury. But let's start with this. What are some of your initial reactions of everything that has went on surrounding this Columbus statue? Zaida, would you like to start? Mm-hmm.
Sure. Um, wow, the statue to me really didn't. It didn't matter to me. It didn't matter to me if it was up or
That's
down.
right.
Um,
What about? Mm-hmm.
I think that it has been blown out of proportion. I think that as a community, we could have done better. Um, I think it was horrible that it was vandalized. I know people feel justified in the removal of the head or in the removal of the entire statue. Maybe it should go into a museum, but I've never let that statue identify or take away from who I am. It didn't bother me to look at him because I know who he is. So, sometimes out of sight, out of mind. Why not look at him and remember him for exactly who he was and what he's done?
Mm. What about Keisha? You, Keisha, what were some of your initial reactions about the statue?
Well, when we first started seeing different states and different throughout the country, taking this Columbus statue down.
Mm-hmm.
The very first thought in my head was, I hope you don't have one up anywhere. Like I said, I hope you don't have one up. I didn't even know we had a statue in Waterbury of Christopher Columbus.
I didn't either.
I did not know that. And even though I know where it is, because it's right in front of City Hall, but it's like, I just wish that people's energy isn't focused on a statue or even a man that no one knew. You understand? We don't really know the history of him. They have words out there about him, and no one really knows. We didn't live in that time.
Mm-hmm.
I wish everyone's energy was more focused on living and thriving within the city. That's my thing. The statue, up or down, doesn't matter to me. Up or down. If you move it into a museum, if you keep it where it is, it does not matter to me by no means. Yeah.
Agreed.
And you know what? I have to say that was one of the things that I kept circling back around to, especially seeing how passionate people were on both sides. I was like, if we can take that passion and put it into some of the real issues, which are, racial injustice, the taxes, and like the list can go on. But we focus so much on, for lack of a better word, how superficial this was. And not to mean that it's any less important to the Italian community or to the Black Lives Matter movement. But at the end of the day, which issue requires more attention, if that makes any sense?
See, that's where it gets tricky, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because which issue is more, like, it's almost saying which ethnicity is more important. Because when you talk about Italians, that's not their race. Their race is white, right? So and our race is black. They never break down the black race as an ethnicity. They group us all together, right? Same thing with Hispanics, right? So they group us all together, and they don't break us down by ethnicity. And when you talk about Italians, you're really just talking about the white race, and that's okay to say that, because I think it's so uncomfortable for some people to have a true, honest conversation about race relations. It's almost like, especially for African Americans, they want us to be quiet. Listen, just stay quiet. We got you guys. We'll get you a minimum wage job. Just stay quiet. But it's no longer a need to stay quiet. You understand? We passed that time. We passed that time when we marched in the 60s. We passed that time when we marched even in the 90s. We've passed it. We've passed the time of being quiet. Things need to be done today, not even tomorrow. I can go on and on about politics in the city of Waterbury. Like, it's a I don't know, it's a gift. I've lived here my whole life, and it's almost pathetic that we had no leadership here. I go on and on.
Zaida, anything you'd like to kind of say about that?
Wow. Well, definitely, the politics here in Waterbury could come up a notch and could contribute more as a community. I think that we find interest lacking, probably on both sides, on all sides, and we could do better, as a community. I think that bringing it back, to heritage. I know that the Italian community is, in an uproar about it. And I think that it also is identifying more the separation between us. I feel that when it comes to Christopher Columbus, or when it comes to Black Lives Matter, me, myself, as a Latina woman, I think that I'm able to speak on all sides, because I identify myself as a brown woman, with my African roots. And I know that Christopher Columbus played a big role in who we are as Puerto Ricans coming from our island. So he's also my ancestor. He's also my countryman. But that doesn't mean I'm going to hide what's been told and the facts of his expeditions. They talk about the Columbian exchange. in his expeditions, and how, the trade, and how he brought, plants and spices and all this back and forth. But that was more stealing. That wasn't trade. And the trade-off were our indigenous men as slaves, and women and children. Um, but I think that, Keisha is correct, and we are focusing more on that instead of bringing it forward. Um, and the time to be
That's
quiet
right.
has passed, and we need to speak up, and we're proud of our ancestors, and that's who push us forward every single day. But we're not them
Mm,
anymore, and we're not going to put up with what they
That's
had to
right.
put up with, because we're
mm,
awakened, and we know better now. And that time is past.
absolutely. And I think, in talking about the political side of it, um, I think people can take, like, if the answer was no, we are going to keep this up for X, Y, and Z, I think in how that information was delivered could have been better. From my understanding, from the mayor, it was pretty much, I stand with the Italians, and it's staying up.
I see.
And I think you need to have more of a conversation than that. I think, you need to acknowledge the tension, or the various sides of the issue. I think, everyone's an adult, but I think to kind of put your foot down as if you're like somebody's parent, like your dad, like no means no.
Right.
Like, I think there needs to be more of a conversation, because it is a passionate issue. And I think when you don't have conversations, also going back to what you were saying about not talking about race, Keisha, it leaves this anger where people are like, I'm going to just take it into my own hands and do something.
Right.
So I think it's important to have conversation even when they are difficult.
Absolutely. We need to talk, and we need to have the conversation, but we need to, at some point, the conversation needs to lead to
That's right.
Yes.
action and to
Yes.
change.
And then it's like, where does it lie? Then if I were an Italian, I would probably want the statue up, right? It's
Mm-hmm.
part of my heritage. It's been there for 30 some odd years. I don't know their connection because I'm not Italian. You understand? I don't
Mm-hmm.
know their passion about the statue, but I could see them wanting it to be up. For our mayor to say, I'm gonna go with the Italian Americans, right? That's what he said. I'm
Mm-hmm.
gonna agree with Italian Americans. It's like, but there's a whole community of people here.
Yeah.
There's 109,000 people within the city of Waterbury. That's why I said bring it to a vote. Because even if one side is stronger than the other side, at least people will have a chance to voice it by voting. Because that's why we live in democracy, right? So
Mm-hmm.
we get to vote our way. And then, Larry, he is like I have to say it because I'm more of politics. So he's like a dictator. And
Mm-hmm.
that's just a fact. you know, it's a
Agreed.
fact. So he's a dictator. He says how everyone moves when he says jump. You know what I'm saying? When he says
Mm-hmm.
jump, they go how high,
Mm-hmm.
literally. And so you can't have that when you're trying to build a community, different people.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know what. I'm pretty sure they'll keep it there, but it has to be brought to a vote. I just seen recently, Channel 8 News, LaSalle Banks, he had to put something up there about he spoke to a few people within the community. He spoke to the mayor, and the mayor said he has to talk to more stakeholders. Who the hell are the stakeholders? Who are the stakeholders of the city of Waterbury? We all pay taxes here.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
We're all stakeholders. Who the hell are you talking to? That's a
Mm-hmm.
stakeholder within the city of Waterbury. 109,000 people. That's who the fuck the stakeholders are. Sorry, Liz. I'm sorry.
You're
I'm
you're
sorry, Liz.
listen,
Oh
if
my
when
goodness.
y'all see the little E on this episode, you know it's because of Keisha.
Liz, my goodness. I'm better than that. Liz. Oh my goodness. But no, seriously, like who are the stakeholders here?
Mm-hmm.
It's high time. I can't stress it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm 46. I've lived here 46 years, born and raised in Waterbury.
Mm-hmm.
It's high time to move past our political, structure. I'll say. High time. It's high
You
time.
You said a lot there.
I'm sorry.
And
I'm
no,
sorry.
no. You said a lot in a good way because, quite honestly, I was slightly offended at the fact that we did not see more of our local leaders speak out about racial injustice, Black Lives Matter, but a lot of them had a lot to say about the statue. And I have to say, I was kind of like, what? Like, we can't be quiet and do our work about like racial injustice in the background. Like, we got to take a forefront. But I also think that is telling of the political environment within Connecticut, and the environment is racially divided. And it's very much, if you're going to speak out against Black Lives Matter, you're not going to get my vote. And I don't think that's fair to a lot of the good politicians that we have that would take a stand and they would do stuff, because they will lose their seat the minute they say something about Black Lives Matter. And that's not okay. Like, that's not okay to live in a place that's like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to say something real quick because I have to say it.
Go ahead.
So, Black Lives Matter, right? Of course, Black Lives Matter, right? Of course, they're going to matter. I'm African American, so therefore, my life matters. However, when Neil O'Leary allowed the Black Lives Matter flag over in front of City Hall for 3 days, that actually ticked me off. Like, I was so mad. I can't even describe it. I could not go on Facebook with it. I would have swore the whole video. I was so angry. It's like, how dare you say Black Lives Matter to the city? You don't hire Black people. You don't put people on boards that look like me. And then in an interview with the Republican American, he says something like he doesn't know too many Black or brown people that want to be in politics. I'm just like, wow, he's so disrespectful.
Wow.
He's so disrespectful. I'm not talking about me in general. There's 100. Okay, African Americans make up 20%, supposedly. It's like 25% of the city. So there's 100,000 people. That's like 20,000 people, right? You can't find no people. No one. You can't find no one. They're all look like you.
Keisha, we've showed up. We've ran. But there's
no
really
support.
No support.
Why? You want to know why?
And whoever's bringing in the top dollars are the contestants there.
And I'm glad you bring that up, because I do think, as we talk about politics and voting whether to keep the statue up or down, I think it's all a matter of money. And this is not even just like a Waterbury thing. I think this is like a nationwide thing. It's like money talks. And I think that as a community, we need to start putting our money in supporting candidates that align with the things that align with us. We need to start putting our money in business that aligns with our passions and our culture and the things that we stand for as just people that live within Waterbury, because money talks. And I think that, to be blunt, the reason he said he stands with the Italians, because they come out to vote and they donate to his campaign.
They do. That's right.
And so I think for him, it was quite easy to say, yep, I stand, because politically that makes sense. On paper, that makes sense, because you want to shore up your donors so that you're there. And I think that when we're going and we're fighting whatever issue, whether it's racial injustice, whether that's whatever your passion is, you got to go where the money is. And like, you got to get your stakeholders together and like say, hey, we are going to donate to this campaign, this person, this cause, because I think that's the only way things are heard. And we saw this with the rioting and looting. No one kind of really cared until things started rioting and looting. Then it was like, whoa, we're messing with the dollar. We're messing with Target. We're messing with this or that. So I think that our value system is just wrong, for lack of a better word.
But this is the thing. Like, when do you think, because you're part of that young group, the protesters, you're in that age group. When do you think it's time? How do you move your life in the city of Waterbury? How can someone who is in your age group afford to live by themselves in the city of Waterbury? You're part of that group. You're part of the group that that protested. I believe people should be able to voice their opinion through protest, but there has to be more actions than just protesting.
Yes.
Absolutely.
And I can't even say now that voting is it, because I don't know what's going to change the city. I mean, right now we're going through a crisis. Literally, we have 2, 3, 4 crises going on in 2020. 2020 won't stop, right? 2020 won't
Absolutely.
stop. You know, we have this COVID, and now we have.
Absolutely.
That's
Keeping
right.
people home. They're gonna keep them from
That's
going out
right.
to vote.
That's right.
It's so
Mm,
coincidental. It's right
mm.
on time. Right on time
You
with
better
the
say it.
census. Even though people didn't need to go out to do the census, it's still
That's
people
right.
still shied
That's
away from
right.
it. We have low counts because of all the other issues that are going on. People are just
Like
scared
you said, it's so on time.
instead of knowing how
That's
empowering
right.
that can be.
I never even thought about that, but you're right. No one's knocking on doors, doing the census around town.
Exactly. We're counting on people to go and either do it by phone, do it by mail, get
Right.
on your computer. We have a large population of
Yes.
elderly that don't have computer and don't know how to navigate one, so they're not doing it. No one's knocking on their doors because they're the higher population of having
Right.
COVID.
I never even saw it like that, though. You're right. It's like almost on time, almost scary.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
Absolutely.
And then the second wave is supposed to come now in the fall near
Right.
voting time. It's just too coincidental for me.
In listening to all that, I think it's a time to change status quo, and I think we're seeing a lot of things happen that they said couldn't happen. You know, we can't take the statue down because it's going to erase history. Well, he lost his head. Your history still remains. Like you see, like you know what I mean.
Right.
So we can't give everybody health care. We can't give everybody food stamps. We can't give everybody this. But COVID came and we saw that we can. And so to kind of go
Stop.
back to what you were saying, Keisha, I don't know what it's going to take to change this city,
I don't
but
know
we
either.
need a change.
I don't know. I don't know. You know, when you educate a child for 12 years, well, they go through 12th grade, and when they
Mm-hmm.
graduate, they can't read or write. Why doesn't anyone see that as being wrong? You know,
Mm.
why is it that our children in our school system cannot learn or have a trade? So when they leave high school, they actually have a job. All of them, not some of them. I don't know what's gonna take. I don't. All I know is Neil Larry needs to go. Sorry, y'all. It is what it is. He has to move on. Not only him, but all his friends.
Mm.
And that's what we play to. I'm gonna do a whole video on Facebook about that. I am. I'm gonna do a whole video about Neil Larry's friends. Watch me.
And if you guys want to check that out, then listen on Coffee and Convos. Find the bio, and you'll find Keisha's information. um, but it's interesting in listening to all that because, and also looking at the comments about the statue, these are things that also came up. It was, even though the issue at the forefront in all this year was about the Columbus statue and what's going to happen, it made CNN and this one news and that and that and that. Everyone kept voicing about these other issues that are in the city. And so I think that the mayor or the city officials cannot neglect to also listen to that. And then there's this divide of people that are like, things are perfect as they are, nothing needs to change. What do you think of that?
Well, you know what? I think the only thing that comes with change is
Mm.
growth. So things need to change. Um, we need to evolve. We need to have new ideas. We need to have new people that have our interests at heart. In there and fighting for us. And just going back to like changing history, there's no way to change something that's in
Right.
the past. It's there. But I've heard and I've been questioned about what are our children going to learn now
Yes.
in school. Well, what they're going to learn is that this generation, we didn't sit down and
Mm.
take it. you know we're not changing history. We're actually creating history as we're living and breathing every second of the day. And you know what? They're going to learn that people stand up and people unite and people come together instead of always being divided, whether it's politics. Even within households now, people are just divided, and we need to come together. We are in the United States of America, and like I've said many times on Facebook, I feel like we are the divided states of America because we divide over everything. There's always a dog eat dog and a survival of the fittest. Um, we see it as
Yes.
a nation, we see it as communities, and we even see it within our own little cliques and family. And we need that change. We need change. We need a spiritual awakening. We need to connect back to what's important. And COVID, it was horrible, but it kind of gave us a taste of getting back to that and connecting to what's important. Um, and then all the other, shenanigans happen.
There's always shenanigans.
Always.
What do you think? Just say the statue remains up, right? Which it probably most likely will. Does
Yeah.
adding statues or monuments to more diverse leaders, that whether they're African American, Latino, and Asian, and Albanian, and all the various leaders that the cultures that we have, do you think that's just enough to add in these other statues, or do we need to take a stand and remove statues that have a racially negative connotation to them?
I wanna say something about that. I'm very spiritual, so and I do believe in God. But if we're gonna go according to the Christian ways, right, and we're gonna go according to the Bible, um, the Ten Commandments tells you about the
Yes.
statues. I think it's the first commandment, right? So we can't swim in two waters. We have to pick what we're gonna do and what we're gonna decide is more important. um, the statue coming up or going down, I think we need to kind of move away from identifying with that. If they remove the statue, it doesn't remove the struggle that we've had for hundreds of years. So whether it's up or down, it happened. So I don't let it define. Just like people, when people want to call me names on Facebook or say spick or whatever, say what you want. I know
Right.
who I am and I
Right.
stand on that. So it doesn't matter. And it doesn't matter to me about the statue. They can put 100 Christopher Columbus or take them all down. And to me, it's the
Right.
same because I know
Right.
who I am.
And for me, I'm like the same way. I'm not someone who cares about a statue. I've never have been. I'm more the person to be like, who's gonna pay for that? That's how I am. Who's
Girl.
paying for that? Who's paying for that? Like, that's how I am. That's so again, if we put more statues up where more community based statues, it'll just be statues to me. It wouldn't have no meaning behind it.
Exactly. True
Yes.
story, Keisha.
So I had a thought, but first let's go there to the money thing. Because I was talking to someone and they were far more distressed about the beheading when they thought that it was our tax dollars that paid for it. Then when they were like, oh, wait, somebody else kind of like fundraised for it and put it up. Then it was kind of like, oh, okay. So like there's kind of, not that there's no loss or anything, but I thought the statue was there for like hundreds of years. I didn't know it was a 30-year-old statue that was a gift to the city.
Right.
But who now is paying for the repairs or the removal or whatever? Who then should pay for it?
I don't know who should pay for it, but I know that the Italian American Club said that they were going to pay for it.
Okay. I just don't want to see it in my taxes. I can't afford it.
Yeah. I don't know. That would be a good question. Uniqlo. I don't know who's gonna pay to have it repaired. I'm pretty sure it's definitely gonna be repaired. That's number one, and it has to be repaired because you don't want to ever say it's okay to vandalize anything because you don't
Absolutely.
want anything to be vandalized that we use or see, and the
Mm-hmm.
look of it by itself, beheading of a person, even though it's a statue, but the beheading part, you
Mm-hmm.
can bring that back to slavery, honestly,
Mm.
right? So it's then you see in the paper, well, that he took the nose off of it. No one even noticed the nose was going. So it was like really just strange. The whole thing is just very strange to me. And it's very strange that we were on this talking about the statue, because I'm like, I can't believe I'm doing it. It's like, I'm like, we talk about a statue, okay, but to bring it back to who's gonna pay for it, I'm pretty sure somebody's paying for it. I'm pretty sure it would not be the tax dollars going towards it. I'm pretty sure Uniqlo will probably step up, and they should, and not they should pay for it. I'm pretty sure the person who did it isn't gonna pay for it.
Oh my goodness.
I mean, again, you don't want that. We don't want to have vandalism. You don't want it. You don't, because you don't want, we don't want to have people think, okay, now it's revenge time, right?
Mm.
Vengeful
And
and start doing things to, I fear sometimes that people might, because this race thing is coming up more, and it's
mm.
not stopping.
Mm.
Sometimes things will get quiet and it'll go
Mm-hmm.
away, but it's not stopping, and that might be, it's almost like you have to now react to it because it's not stopping. No one, and it shouldn't stop because it needs to be addressed.
Absolutely. But I think, and we lost Zaida, so hopefully she's able to jump back on.
Oh, Zaida's not here?
Yeah, little technical difficulties. But as you were talking, and again, we don't want the message to be that vandalism is ever okay. But I do think, even if you look at the looting and things that went on, when people are not heard, okay, great, you made it back, Zaida.
Oh, yes.
Awesome.
I'm not sure what happened. I had to leave and come back in.
Technology. But right now we're just talking about vandalism, and I think people get to that point when they're not being heard. And it's just like, when George Floyd, when that first surfaced, people were like, hey, do something, we need something to be done, and the community was like an outrage and hurting, and they didn't feel like they were being heard. And then it went to that next level. And I think, that's how humans are. We all want to be heard. And I think when we don't have our point heard by using words, then we escalate and we use action. And sometimes those actions are positive and sometimes those actions are negative. But I think that's why, for me, if the statue was going to remain up, it should have been more of a conversation and more of an acknowledgement of both sides, rather than this is what we're doing and I don't want to hear any more about it.
And that does nothing. That doesn't solve anything.
No, because this is what
Right.
you have. You have,
Yes.
like, fine, I'm going to do this then.
Right. There you have it.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
And let's just be grateful that the statue is repairable.
Absolutely.
I mean, literally, anything could have happened to it. So it's just a point in life where I want people to understand that eventually you're going to have to move on from people who are dictators. You're going to have to. You're going to have to move on. Whether it's 10 years from now, 20 years from now, eventually it has to be done so that people can thrive. You won't even, I'm not going to discuss anymore, but I'm just saying it is what it has to. And again, I don't want people to have this revenge type thing. I don't want people being hurt over it because it's not necessary. When you could just speak to me, you don't have to call me names. Just speak to me. Like, people on Facebook, I've seen, people who are just negative and almost threatening to me, in my opinion. You're threatening people over what? When you're hiding behind a computer, first of all, you're not face to face with somebody. You're hiding behind a computer.
Exactly.
You're threatening. Why are you doing that?
That was something that was, I have to say, most startling about this issue is some of the comments. Calling for extensive action, fullest extent of the law, referring to people as thugs. Like, we didn't have any information about who this was. There was this talk of revenge. There was just this hateful speech that was happening. And then, we have a name of who it is, but we don't have a photo.
And the person, but we do know the person wasn't even locally from around here.
Right.
And it's like, you had all this hate speech. You were ready to go and attack Black Lives Matter or African Americans or whoever, but it wasn't someone that was from here. You refer to it like it was these gang of thugs that went out to cause harm, and the video shows one person. So I think, back to your point, Keisha, I think that's why it's important, to sometimes cool down and slow down, especially when we're feeling passionate. And remember that we have to move forward together to solve our differences.
Absolutely, I agree with that. And I will add that there were so many different conversations going on, especially within this last week, that like when I'm on Facebook, I try to share my positive side,
Mm-hmm.
my holistic stuff, all my good recipes. Let's meditate, let's breathe. This took me to a completely different level, to a vibration that I didn't even like. It made me talk to people in ways that I have been using in
Zaida.
years. I was like, oh my God. And just the back and forth, it wasn't good. It's not good for the spirit. It's not good. It's not good. And I let it take me there. And I think the last 2 days I had to kind of move back from Facebook and not keep sharing or engaging in the back and forth, because it's easy.
Right.
It's easy to do it, especially when you see the injustice. And I'm not one to be quiet or to be silent. You're saying something that's wrong and inappropriate, and you're putting it out there for the world to see, then get ready for what comes. But sometimes, what, it's not worth changing your energy
Right.
over it. But at the same time, you're stuck in between, because I can be very good and spiritual, and then I can switch up really quick. Because if we don't stand for something, then what we standing for?
Right.
We're gonna keep letting them,
Right.
put their foot over
Right.
us, and so I get stuck here in between giving them a prayer or sending them to hell.
And I think that it is very true and understandable. And as I've been having these convos, that's been kind of the conversation, is helping me process all of that. The hate that I've seen online, the injustice. And I think that's a really true roller coaster that I think people, whether they are Black, white, whatever they identify with, have been going through. I think this has just been a time of reflection and a time of revealing things within people that maybe they didn't know was even there.
Yeah.
I want to just discuss real quick too, Liz.
Yes.
They had a protest, or I don't know what you call these things nowadays. People, they come together, and they talk, I don't know, outside, whatever you want to call it. But this motorcycle gang shows up, right? And so
the George Floyd memorial that happened.
Yes. So the motorcycle gang shows up, and when I see motorcycle gangs, whether they're Black motorcyclists or white motorcyclists, I don't really say they're a gang. They just say a club to me, right? So then I did a backstory. There's a whole backstory about this club. There's a backstory from back in the 60s and how they used to come in Waterbury and put the Blacks in line, where they're going to court being sued for putting Blacks in line. I
thought that was a lie. I thought that was a rumor. That was true.
I read that. I read it. Now, if it's a lie, forgive me. I'm just going by what I read, right? But then I read the present day that someone who was the founder said something similar to, I wish it was like back in the day. I would put those little girls and boys in line. So now I don't know if this is true, but I'm just telling you what I read, right? So I'm going to go that is true, right? That is true. Whether it is true or not, I'm just going to go on the premise that it's true. And to say that I'm going to put you in line. We're all, this is the thing. This is what I want people to understand. Like, we are all grown people. None of us are kids. You know what I'm saying? We're not 14, 12, 9. I'm 46, getting ready to be 50 in a few years. Like, we are grown. You swing, I swing. That's how I am. That's how I was brought up to
Absolutely.
be. You swing, I swing, and I'm gonna swing harder. That's how I was brought up. You don't ever let someone punk you. And that's how many people are brought up.
Uh-huh.
You know what I'm saying? That's
Uh-huh.
how it is. That's why on Facebook you go, you
Uh-huh.
can do that back and forth, because you don't want, and that's what I want people to get. Like, oh, we have our guns. Everyone can own a gun. Anyone can own a gun. And that's why we don't want to get there. We want to say, listen, we need to be in a community that thrives. We don't want people try to intimidate. You're not even enough people. Like, you come there, you got 12 people with you, 19 people. You ain't even enough to intimidate me by myself. You understand? You can't
Right.
intimidate anymore. If you're coming to be, oh, we're here for the statue, no one cared about the statue. That's not why they were there. They weren't even there to talk about the statue.
And good. I'm glad you brought that up, because so for those listening, there was a George Floyd memorial on Just Say Friday, and on Saturday there was a rally to show support for the statue. On the Friday event, where people were having an event about racial injustice, and it was supposed to be like a healing event, this biker gang comes, and they stand in front of the statue, and reports say that they taunted those that were there for the memorial against racial injustice and things like that. And I think for me, I thought that was disrespectful because there was a designated day for the statue. This was a designated event for something else. And so while they wanted their point to be made, there was a time and place. And so for me, I equate it to, if it's my birthday on the same day as a funeral, I'm not going to go to the funeral and say, hey, it's my birthday, let's celebrate.
Right.
Because it's disrespectful and it's not my time yet. There's a time and a place for everything. And it's just this weird dynamic and this weird energy that is now forming within the city.
And that's the problem. And when you have no leadership, the people who are supposed to be there trying to control it, and they're not there. Like, they're not, you don't hear from your aldermen, because why? They can't speak. Because why? Because Larry dictates everything.
Absolutely agree.
Right? You don't hear from, you don't hear. And then I don't know.
They don't want to lose. They don't want to lose. The stipend.
Zaida.
Okay,
Zaida, they
right.
need it so they can pay these taxes. Listen, it's hard out here in these streets. I'm trying to get me a stipend.
That line reminded me of Hustle and Flow. It's hard out here, folks.
Listen.
I don't know. I want us to understand, we're stronger together. And that's
Absolutely.
Yeah. Absolutely.
That's it. No matter how you do it, we're all stronger together. And when we're divided, when we have our, we are better than you. No one's saying that, but when we have that, we're better than you. You are no one. You don't have any authority to change anything here. You understand what I'm saying? You don't have that authority. You're nobody. Because that's what it seems like sometimes. You're nobody. You have no authority to do anything here. And then when you push back to that, when you push it, and they're like, oh, that's why they say you're a thug. Oh, what else do they call anyone that pushes back?
Absolutely.
I'm an angry Black woman.
Yeah.
I'll tell you, I know from my party, my party don't like me anymore, probably, and I'm okay with that. I am a registered Republican, and I will remain a Republican. And I feel that, for the past maybe 4 years, or maybe a little longer than that, I've been there, and I've tried to bring them to change. I know that they wanted me to meet there, seeing as I might bring them the Latino
Right.
vote. But for me to bring you the Latino vote, you need to show me you here for the Latinos.
That's right.
You need to go out there. You need to dirty your hands out in my community and show my people that you're willing to work for them. And no matter what I've done, I never moved a grain of sand with them.
Mm-hmm.
It was always, let's join, let's do this, as long as it was a benefit to them. But whenever I had ideas of, let's do this for the kids in this community, no, we didn't have that money. We
Mm.
they weren't supportive of that. Um, and honestly, even when I ran for Board of Education, I didn't get the support from my
Really?
party. And I know absolutely no support, no support at all. They wanted I know this, I know it. They wanted me to run to make sure that their incumbents stood in place. They knew the Latina wasn't gonna get in, but they needed to guarantee those seats for people that have children that don't even attend public school.
Right.
Their children attend private
Right.
schools, and one of them um, could have, benefit from being home 10 years ago because, he's just past the age of being able to make a change.
Mm.
Um, and honestly, they didn't want to make a change. They want things the way they
That's
are.
right.
So they want to keep it that way. So I know that they don't like me because I do speak up. And you know what? I am your team member. And if we're gonna work as a team, we're gonna work as a team
That's
and do
right.
things for everyone. And if we can't do that, then anywhere that you want to post anything about anything that's not in accordance to that, I'm gonna let you know.
Absolutely. And as we kind of circle to a close, I think that's important as you bring up that you said they put you there for the Latina vote. And I think for those listening, wherever you are, look at how your political leaders are handling these situations. And yes, there's no handbook for going through a pandemic like this and
Mm-hmm.
everything else. But look and pay attention to how how they're responding. Look and see what issues they stood up for, because come voting time, they're going to say they're for you. But these are the times that we need to pay attention to. And if you're completely fine with how your leader or your representative acted, then support them. Support them. Support them through your vote. Support them through sharing their campaigns. Support them. But if you are not happy with the response, if you feel like you were an isolated community, maybe it's time for you to step up and run for office or to support a different candidate.
That's right.
Absolutely.
So, ladies, as we come to a close, is Thanksgiving canceled? Were we
By the
able to
time
decide?
I say, by the time November gets here, wherever we are in this 2020 world, I think Thanksgiving is going to be needed.
Girl.
Right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. We can take all of these holidays and we can
That's
make
right.
them our own. Thanksgiving has always just been a time of just celebrating and gathering with your family to just to hang out for the day and just eat tons of food and laugh and just gather and share. Um, so definitely we need more
That's right.
Oh,
Thanksgiving.
okay.
We need
All
to
right. So I won't be
yeah.
canceled if I'm out. I take a picture with my pie and my food. I won't be
No.
canceled. Okay.
Absolutely not.
Well, ladies, before we get into our last segment, which is the "What's in Your Cup" segment, any last words that you would like to share about this topic or anything you have going on? Zaida, we'll start with you.
Um, I would just like to see our community just move forward. Just let's create the good, positive changes. Let's support the leaders that are, out there showing that they're getting their hands dirty. Let's support new options for elected office chairs. Um, and let's just breathe a little bit more as a
Mm.
community. Let's breathe and let's just maybe pray for each other and have a little bit more regard for each other. And that's it.
That's
You,
right.
Keisha. Mm-hmm.
So for me, respect goes a long way. Respect goes a long way. So I just want people to understand that every year that we are alive, there's an election. Somebody's running for something every year, every single year. So don't just get, I know the hype is always the presidential election, because that's something that unifies the whole country. But your local elections, your state elections, that's what determines your taxes.
Mm.
You know, it determines who's employed within the state or city. It determines education for your children. So just be more mindful, and it's okay to vote for other people.
Mm.
It's okay to vote for other
Absolutely.
people, and if any leader, and I put that in quotations because I think you already know, it is what it is with me. The leadership that is non-existing, but for any leaders that, you know, state reps, anyone who listens to this, your alderman, if the mayor is even going to think about listening, or his people, his friends,
You're thinking too highly of me.
Those people, they need to step up. Period. Step up. You're there for a reason. People elected you to be there. Step. Stop being afraid of people. You know, stop being afraid of the voice. So what? You can't be reelected. If you need, listen, call me on the phone. Like, I'll do it for you. Like, no, but seriously, step up for these people. Step up for everyone who's in this city. We are the second poorest city in our whole state. But guess what came on time? Our tax bills. Come on. You better do something for somebody.
I thought I wasn't going to see one. I was like, oh, you know, COVID. We're not going to see one. No. I for sure saw it on time.
On time. That's how it is here. And you have people dying from being sick, can't get medication, doesn't have the money. Step up for these people. You're there for a reason. And if you don't do it now, then you're never going to do it. Then all you need to go. They're all agreed. You already know I'm running. Like, I'm not running to 2023. I'm not running no time before that. But it is what it is. It has to get done. It has to get done, and you can't be afraid to get it done. You know, again, I said that I truly believe every police officer within the city needs to have a body cam. You know, every police officer that's working within the city has to have a body cam. And the only reason why they don't have one is because Neil Leary doesn't want them to have one for whatever reason. You know, we can't find money, but yet we could find money to clean up horse poop. You know what I'm saying? It's ridiculous how we live here. It is ridiculous.
Absolutely.
We're the 5th largest city.
And the new little buggies they're driving, the new little buggies. Have you seen the new little car, the police buggies? It's this new little car that they're driving. It's this, I don't know.
Waste of money.
Oh my goodness. I gotta check out these little buggies.
I know they have the segways, the little thing that you stand on and they roll. They have those.
Yeah, well, they have little buggies. Yeah, it's this new little. It looks like a little toy car. I can't even explain. Yeah.
Yeah. See, but we can't get body cams, right? So it's just important that the people start feeling safe, and the people understand we have the power, and that's why you vote. We have the power. We have it, and we have to start using it effectively. And I'm going to do a video because I really feel a need to express myself by myself. I get angry. I get mad, and they call me angry. You know, the angry black woman. That's fine, because I'm actually mad about the way the city is being handled.
That's passion. That's passion. That's passion. That's not you being. I think that this label, and like, listen, that's a. You know what? I'll pause there. That's a whole nother episode. But oh, ladies, thank you so much for being on this episode. And our last segment is what's in your cup. And this is 3 things you're putting in your cup to get you through the rest of your day, the rest of your week, however it might be. And so for me, I'm putting in, I think I need a little bit of like soul, like a nice refreshing, you know, like to revitalize myself on the inside. So I'm putting a little bit of soul in my cup. I think I want like some freedom to just be authentic to myself and what I need in this space and in this moment. And I think I'm taking a little bit of spice from you, Keisha. I think I need a little bit of spice so that there can be change and that there can be refreshing within the city. So soul, freedom, and spice is what I need. Keisha, what is in your cup to help you keep pushing forward?
What's in my cup? I would say the first thing that's in my cup is music. Like for me, music has gotten me through everything I've ever been through. No matter if it's gospel, R&B, rap, I've listened to the Bee Gees. You know what I'm saying? So for me, music is in my cup because it helps me, it rejuvenates me, my spirit. The other things in my cup is always prayer. Always prayer. Like, get me through it, Lord. When this whole COVID thing started in like March, my job became so much work for me to do. I don't know how I made it to this month. I don't know how I made it, but I made it through prayer because I know God is always with me no matter what I do.
Amen.
Right. So music, prayer, and I will say the last thing that's in my cup that gives me joy is to know there's a better day. That's it. Then I know not a better day for me either. You know, because it's never about me. It's always about other people. Because I know it's a better day for the residents of the city of Waterbury. No matter what no one tells me, I know it in my soul, in my spirit. And that day is coming. They just got to receive it. Receive it. The day is coming. So that's what gets me through my day. That's
Awesome.
it.
What about you, Zaida?
Well, wow. I'm not sure if three things fit in my cup. I think my cup is full of healing. Yeah, healing is in my cup. Healing for myself and healing for my community. Healing through our energies and our vibrations, and definitely through that sound, through that music, because that is so key. Um, Sound and music and vibration like that definitely heals our soul. Sometimes we're just listening to the lyrics, and those are healing as well, but it's everything behind that. So healing is in my cup.
Beautiful. Thank you, ladies, so much. And thank you to all those who are listening, both here in the United States and across the ways. I really appreciate you guys tuning in and sharing and making coffee and combos so prevalent out there. I do appreciate it. Ladies, you were awesome.
Thank you. Thank you,
Thank you.
Zaida. Thank you for doing it.
Thank
Thank
you,
you. I so
Keisha.
appreciate you. You already know. I appreciate you.
Ladies,
Absolutely.
you got to come back. You got to come back.
Absolutely, we will. You just let me know and we'll
All
set it
right.
up.
All right. Thank you,
Keisha,
Liz.
election
Yes.
time is coming up. I definitely have to have you back on and pick your brain on some of the things that are going on.
Whatever. Whatever.
Ladies, be well. Listeners, be well as well.
Thanks, Liz. Okay. Bye-bye.
Okay.
Bye.
Okay. Bye.